Okay, now, just before we will deal with the omnibus on Indian residential school survivors, we will present a short video of our guest speaker, Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party. If we can put the video up on the screen, please. Thank you.
Hello. It's an honor to be able to address the Assembly of First Nations today as you discuss issues facing your communities across Canada. And thank you to Chief Archibald for giving me the chance to share my thoughts I've developed after listening to First Nations people across the country. But I'm still learning, and I have a lot more to learn from you, so my door is always open. But from what I've heard so far, I can't help but feel a sense of optimism for the real opportunity that we can work together. And look, I understand that there are a lot of wrongs to right, whether the horrors of the residential school system or the ongoing injustices of failure to deliver clean drinking water or adequate housing. These are all issues that have to be solved, and we have to work together to make it happen. I've been clear since becoming leader that my goal is to empower Canadians. I believe that bureaucratic busybodies and politicians in Ottawa should not be dictating how people exercise their rights and freedoms and that live their lives. Ottawa needs to focus on empowering First Nations, not standing in their way. In saying this, I'm reminded of the words of Chief Joseph, who said, "Let me be a free man, free to travel, free to stop, free to work, free to trade where I choose, free to choose my own teachers, free to follow the religion of my fathers, free to talk, think, and act for myself." Now, I recognize that this is something that will look very different for each First Nation across this country. Your freedoms include the freedoms to live out your lives as First Nations people, determining your own futures and exercising your own unique rights that existed for millennia before the creation of Canada, rights that are affirmed in treaties and protected by the Constitution. Right now, the government is simply going through the motions, making promises with no real plan to deliver results. We see First Nations continuing to live in communities that lack clean drinking water or adequate housing, and where people live in systemic poverty. I'll end this cycle and return control to First Nations communities and their leaders across this country. I'll give you back control of your revenues, the ones that you generate in your communities, and I'll end Ottawa's policy of siphoning off income earned by First Nations communities themselves. I'll remove federal government hurdles that First Nations communities face when it comes to building and investing in commercial projects or when applying for funds from Ottawa. I'll work with you to ensure that we protect the environment and respect First Nations as the best environmental stewards that we have. And I'll work with you to find ways to truly empower each and every First Nation to achieve your economic potential. I believe in economic reconciliation, and I believe First Nations should be leading players in our national economy. And that means being not just consulted, but included in meaningful ways on all matters that affect your nations. I also believe that you should be the principal beneficiary of natural resource projects that happen in your lands and territories. We've all seen and heard about the success stories of First Nations who have been able to take control of their economic destinies. They've raised money, started businesses, employed their people, and been able to generate opportunities that pay dividends for many generations to come. I want to work with you and replicate those success stories by tearing down the federal government barriers that First Nations people and communities face. I want to make it easier for your communities to get out from under the paternalistic Indian Act where you so choose. You have the thousands of years of history, the local knowledge of land and people, and the wisdom to decide for yourselves. In closing, I want to reiterate my goal: to stand beside you and work to build a true nation-to-nation relationship, to truly empower First Nations across this country and unlock the potential that we know that you can all achieve by taking control of your futures. So let's go forward and build that relationship together. I look forward to many more days of listening and learning so that we can achieve these goals. Thank you.